Producer Joe Callie pulling out all the stops on that open. Hurricane 2000. Good morning. It's Jeremy and Joe. Getting to assistant head coach Seth Appert in a moment here on the Wester Hotline. It is cold out. The real feel, at least according to my app, is -7. Right now it is snowing, so drive safe on the roads. If you're staying home, today might be the day for it because the weather's starting to pick up here, at least in the Amherst area. So News Radio 930 WBEN for all your weather updates, our sister station down the hall if you need that. Joining us now on the Wester Hotline is Seth Appert, a Sabres assistant coach, as the Sabres are on a 9-game win streak. His appearance brought to you by Firth Jewelers. For all the moments in your life, go forth to Firth. Good morning, Seth. Probably a little bit warmer where you are. I'm not sure, though.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Yeah, certainly looking at the size of the waves and the water yesterday in Buffalo, I think it's a little better here in Dallas.
Yeah. So is this before we get to the team itself, in your hockey career, is this the longest or coming up on the longest win streak you've been a part of? It's got to be close to the top.
Yeah, it's close. I think we had one a little longer when I was with the U.S. national team and one a little longer when I was at the University of Denver. But this is right up there. And I think the great thing about it has been the different ways that we're winning and how we're finding ways to win close games, which is a great sign.
What would you say common thread-wise you've seen throughout this streak? I think your team's getting a lot of credit for the compete level really being turned up, and you mentioned like finding different ways to do it. What have you seen that's kind of been common throughout the entire streak here?
I think the commonality is the resilience that you need to have to win close games. You're not going to have your A game all the time. Right now at the schedule in the NHL, you're playing pretty much every other day. And so, last night was a good example of what I mean by the resilience. We scored to go up 1-0, but then they come back and they score 2 and outplay us, a little bit in the rest of the first period. And so now you're entering the second period. You're down 2-1 on the road against a really good defensive team. And it took 15 minutes in the second period to tie it up. We were really good in the second, outplayed them. But what I liked about our group right now is that we're not chasing offense. I think, earlier in this year, last year, and other years, like when I was in Rochester watching the Sabres, you're down 2-1 and you're playing good, but you're not getting that tying goal. And you start to chase the game a little bit, and then you give them a free goal or an odd man rush to go up by 2 or 3, and then the game gets away from you. We're doing a really good job of not letting games get away from us, keeping the game close, and not chasing offense right now.
Seth, I wanted to ask a little bit about the goaltending you guys have gotten during this streak, and it's not just coming from one guy. It's been both UPL and Alex Lyon. How much does the confidence of your team, especially maybe offensively, feed off the fact that when they get big saves, it's kind of the easy way to turn around and start and getting some momentum on offense is getting that big save on the other side?
So it's been huge. Lyon and Pekka Luukkonen have been outstanding. And I think that goaltending, is the ultimate equalizer in any game, for your team. And so, and it's also the way it makes you feel. When a goalie gives up a goal, the mistake becomes magnified. The player feels worse about the mistake he made in front of him. Sometimes the coaches feel worse about the player because the mistake ended up in your net. And when a goalie makes a save, it's a little bit more of a teaching moment. It's a little bit more of a learning moment of, hey, we can't do that again. And you learn and you move on. And so they're giving us really high-quality goaltending. They're making our opponent earn their goals, and they're giving us a lot of confidence in front of them.
Seth Appert with us on the Wester Hotline. Seth, one thing that I've noticed in especially the last 2 games, but you've seen a lot of it, I think, throughout the entire streak, your team goes on these runs. I feel like the second period, both last night and against Boston, were maybe prime examples of this, where your team goes through these long stretches where it just feels like they never give up the puck. And, I mean, how important is that for a team to have not just – that ability, because you're not always going to score on those shifts, Even the third period last night was this too, wasn't it? Where you got a team on the other side that's down a goal, and, best defense is the best, or the defense is the best offense is one saying. I feel like the best defense there was just your team never let them have the puck, so they can't get a lot of scoring chances.
Yeah, that's a great point, and you're exactly right. And, but the key to that, I think that's probably a difference right now versus earlier in the season or last year, is it's possession and it's offense without as much dramatic a risk. And I think that is a huge difference. We have a team designed to be a possession team. Our D-core is designed to be a breakout machine with how mobile and active our D-core is. And I think that, we have a better understanding now. We need our defensemen to be involved in our offense, both from the breakout and neutral zone through into the O zone. I think our forwards are doing a better job of covering for our defense when they're involved, and not allowing just because our D's in the rush, not just selling out for that one rush, and then it becomes a rush coming back the other way. And that allows our D to stay in, to be aggressive, because they have a little more trust right now that our forward group is going to replace them when they're active and involved in the play. That's
something where, like Dahlin gives you that, Power gives you that. I feel like that's something that maybe Samuelsson hasn't been known for throughout his career, that it feels like you're getting that from him too now.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. He's had a heck of a year. Certainly I have probably a little bias with Sammy. I've coached him since he was 16 years old, and he's always had this. What Sammy has, he has non-flashy offense. I think he's getting rewarded for it right now a little bit more because of how good he's playing. But he's always been very capable offensively, very good with the puck, really good joining the rush. It's just sometimes that hasn't always turned into offense. And right now, some of those plays are ending up in the back of the net. But I think when you have the confidence that he has right now, you're starting to see a little more of that. But like I said, I also think our forwards are earning the trust of players on our back end. And so a player like Mattias feels more confident activating offensively if he knows that our forwards are going to cover for him and it's not going to be something that looks bad going the other direction.
Seth, Lindy's talked a lot about one of the reasons being this team kind of finding their stride now is you guys getting healthy. I wanted to ask you about Josh Norris and sort of his presence since re-entering the lineup after, getting injured on opening night. What does he sort of mean to this offense as a whole? And obviously the other night, breaks a stick and dives down on the ground and gets a huge block. It's not to say he hasn't been making an impact on the defensive side, but it just seems like his presence on the offensive side is really, is calming the right word for him, Seth?
That's a great word. That is a great word for him. He's and I agree with Lindy. We saw signs of this throughout the season for our team, but either we couldn't get it over the top, or maybe we were a little thin. We had too many guys out of our lineup, whatever that is. But with Norris, he's a different player than we have up front. We have a lot of good forwards and a lot of dynamic forwards. You talk calmness. He's a little calmer and a little more controlled and a little more cerebral than a lot of our other forwards. And so he's a very good fit. He doesn't get enough credit. I like what you mentioned about the diving block shots, and he doesn't get enough credit for how competitive or how good defensively he is, because he does it in a much more controlled manner. It's not it's not a violent manner in terms of his defense. He does it more with his mind and his positioning, and he is a different style of forward that brings a control and a calmness to our group, which has been huge for us.
Seth Appert with us on the Western Hotline. Seth, it feels like the lines have been together for a good amount here and have been building continuity, have been all really, especially the top three. The fourth line's changed a little with Greenway going in and out. But that top three, everyone's contributing offensively, seems like on a night-to-night basis. Is it tricky figuring that out with Zucker getting close to returning to the lineup? Because he's a guy that will produce for you, but there would also be an argument, I'm sure, to not wanting to change things as the team keeps winning.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and there'll be a time when that happens. You can't be afraid of change. Just because we're playing good right now, we're a better team when Zucker's in our lineup. We're certainly better offensively. We're certainly better on the power play when he is in there, and he's going to be back here soon. So, but there is an argument to be made for the continuity of lines, and probably more so, I think, is right now we have very good balance. We don't have a loaded up top line. And then we rely on them to do all the scoring, and then everything else comes secondary. Right now, we have three very balanced lines offensively, with a heavy checking line. That Greenway, Dunn, and Malmsteen have done a fabulous job giving us quality minutes right now and playing in the offensive zone. So the balance to our lines is really good right now, and I think that plays into what you talked about earlier in the second and third period, that we're able to roll four lines at teams and eventually turn the games over because our depth is really good right now.
Yeah, I was looking at ice time last night. I think every line was within like 2 minutes of each other, so it was pretty balanced last night, especially. Some of the young guys in the lineup, Seth, Noah Ostlund continues to play, feels like consistently a good brand of hockey, and he's doing it in different positions. Him on the wing and doing it, again, like kind of a top six role. I know you kind of got three lines that are pretty balanced up top. How surprising, I guess, for you is it that he has jumped from the AHL to the NHL? And again, it feels like he's not one of these young guys that's like, oh, you're seeing a flash and then he disappears for a week and then another flash. Like night to night, it seems like from the outside that he's giving you what you want.
He's a really good player. I mean, there's a reason that, Mike Leone just raved about him last year. There's a reason that the Swedish national team coaches raved about him. He was a captain for the Swedish national team. He's a player you feel good with in your lineup. As good offensively as he is as good defensively. Very, very intelligent player, which allows him to play up and down your lineup. It also allows him to play multi-positions. And so, his versatility is a strength in that, Lindy trusts him to be out there in a 5-on-6 situation because it's not his physical strength that is there yet. He's not even there from a perspective of that just because he's a young man. But his positioning and his intellect as a hockey player is extremely high. Which allows us to rely on him in a bunch of different situations.
And then what about Benson playing maybe a little bit higher in the lineup at times this year? He's given you value, Seth, over the last couple of years, but this year it feels like the points are starting to go a little bit higher.
Yeah, and the funny thing about Benson is he's younger than Ostlund and Kulik.
Right.
But because he's been here for a few years, it's easy to forget that. And so he's still a really just emerging, developing player as well. Benson's a junkyard dog, and it's really hard not to love him. He's a guy that you love having on your team. You probably dislike at a high level when you play against him. He's an adjutant. He's around the net front. Our game-winning goal the other night by Samuelsson, that doesn't go in if he doesn't take two defensemen to the front of the net, take a cross check to the head, and provide that screen on the goaltender. And so he's getting more offense. Obviously, the game-winning goal is an underrated play by him. He's dropping behind the net, anticipating McLeod to change sides behind the net. Mm-hmm. And I think 9 out of 10 players, in the NHL, really, when that goes back out front, they do a little bit of a loop into the corner. He hits the edges hard and stops on the back post, and then is rewarded by showing his skill and knocking it out of midair. But it's really the skill overshadows the habits and the mentality to be on the inside and get to the hard areas that allowed that goal to happen.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, the Samuelsson goal against Boston, you've got Lindholm and another one of the Bruins defensemen who are probably a foot taller than him, like couldn't get rid of him from the front of the net. Almost feels like because he's so low, that maybe that makes it harder too. Like it feels like it's really tough to get rid of him when he's in those areas.
Yeah, the center of balance certainly can help some of the smaller guys in those areas at times.
Yeah.
But you have to have a will to be there. There's nothing easy about being at the front of the net in the National Hockey League. You're going to take cross checks. You're going to pay a price. And he is 100 times out of 100, he's willing to pay that price for us.
Lastly, Seth, before we let you go, the standings, I don't know how much you're looking at it, but it is pretty wild to look at the East right now, and maybe this is why it's so important to have this streak and keep it rolling, that there's only 4 points separating last in the conference from that final playoff spot, which you guys are now tied for at the moment. So, I don't know if this adds to it at all, but it feels like maybe there's extra pressure in the conference right now just because there are so many teams that are still in it.
The Eastern Conference is really impressive right now. There's no poor teams. Everybody's either good or really good. And so that tightens everything up. We don't spend a lot of time. The guys are smart. They know where it is. They know the standings. But I think our staff, led by Lindy, we're more process driven. We believe even 10 games ago, we believe if you do the right things, you have the right habits, you do the right things in practice, in the weight room, and in games, that leads to long-term success. With understanding and awareness of where we're at, and pro sports is about winning. So I think what we've done now is we've put ourselves in position. But there's a lot of hockey remaining. We got 44 or whatever it is games left, and so we're just taking a one game at a time mentality. And our mindset is to try to get better today in practice and then prepare ourselves to give ourselves a chance to win against one of the best teams in the NHL tomorrow night.
And that's the Stars. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock in Dallas. Seth, thanks for joining us, and good luck tomorrow night.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Seth Appert on the Western Hotline, Sabres and Stars, 8 o'clock. We'll have pregame here in WGR starting at 7 o'clock.